pillars of activities in international programs. One are our academic programs, so many of you are IRD or ID, the Global Development majors, or you're in the MPS program. So those are some of the academic pieces. We have a cohort of international professors, I think about 83 international professors now who are spread across the disciplines in CALS. Many of you will know those professors, and they're on our website, and many of them are here tonight. We also have mid-career professional development programs, such as the Humphrey Fellows program. How many Humphrey Fellows do we have here tonight? Do you recognize a few? Great, welcome. And we also have a number of externally sponsored projects that are undertaking international ag type projects around the world. And one of our specific goals tonight is to make sure that people in the Cornell community know what we're doing out there in the world, so that we might find opportunities for Cornell students to be involved in those projects. So tonight we're going to hear about some courses that have international dimensions to them, and we're going to hear about some projects that have international dimensions to them. And the goal is that if something sounds interesting to you, that you might follow up with the speaker who spoke on that item, and maybe we can form some real meaningful connections that will result in meaningful international experiences across the campus. So I'd just like to first recognize the people that put this event together. Denise Percy, who's back there, back of the room, many of you know, really put this together. So if you enjoy this event. And Callie Arthur, instrumental as always in getting this out. And Anna is going to play a special role tonight. She's going to make sure that people really only speak for 5 minutes. So she's going to let you know how much time you have on her device here, and when the bell goes off, if you don't exit the stage, she will escort you off the stage. So we have a lot of things to learn about tonight, and so we really are asking everyone to just limit it to 5 minutes. Let people know what they want to know about you, and so that they can follow up if there's an area of interest. Finally, we have some starter snacks to get us going from the Cornell Orchards and our favorite local coffee company. And then we'll have our session. And then at 6, Senior Associate Dean Max Pfeffer will come and join us. He represents our unit on the Internationalization Committee. So we'll have some words. And then we have a half an hour to have dinner together and to further continue the conversation. Okay, so we're hoping that you'll stay for dinner from 6 to 6:30, eat and network with all of So with that, we will hear from our first up, Susan McCooch.
Especially I don't know how to get just hit the button to go one more.
Yeah, so everything is described in these slides, so here we go. This is a little mini 3-week field course. We run it at the International Rice Research Institute in the Philippines, and it's called Rice Research to Production. It was originally envisioned to attract researchers who are working on rice out of the lab into the field and to give them some background about rice in the center of diversity. Okay, it's funded originally by the National Science Foundation, so there are 10 scholarships for U.S. citizens or green card holders, and then there are 20 other students from other parts of the world, all of whom have to be funded under different funding, and we have a collage of funding opportunities to support them. So, overview, 30 participants, 10 U.S., 20 from other countries, diverse disciplines. We actually recruit from people, trying to put together a group of people that do represent a wide range of interests from the plant sciences, economics, extension and outreach, education, and then all kinds of genetics, genomics, gene bank, and conservation. Different nationalities, different career stages. This is limited in terms of the number of undergrads. It's mostly a graduate student course, but there are always a few spots for undergrads, and those undergrads have the vast majority have come from Cornell. Because the undergraduates at Cornell are positioned opportunely to make this a useful experience for them. Different professional goals, ages, and cultural backgrounds. We provide field experience in rice cultivation. There are classroom-based seminars and discussions with a wide range of Erie faculty that represent different disciplines. You work in the grain quality lab looking at different quality parameters of rice because each of the rices, there are different and unique flavors and textures. You visit the Erie Gene Bank and other facilities at Erie, which includes now a very interesting high-throughput phenotyping setup in the field. On-site interviews with farmers both in Los Baños and out and around, as we'll see in a minute. Visits to partner agricultural organizations. So Erie is an international organization. You also meet people from the National Rice Research Center in the Philippines, which is about 6 hours up in central Luzon in the main rice growing areas. And you meet with other NGOs that are active in the Philippines. And trips on weekends to important socio-cultural sites, which makes the group kind of cohere and come together and enjoy. So I'm just showing you here a little bit of a medley of the kinds of activities that we undertake. These are all also posted on the Erie website. This course has been going on for 8 years. We're in our 9th year coming up. It's normally taught in May, June, so at the end of classes, but before graduation. So any of you who are graduating, that's a somewhat difficult time. You do land preparation with both water buffaloes, and you see over here the handheld there's special floating devices that you can use. They usually have a little motor. They're like a rototiller, a floating rototiller. And now tractors. You have hand transplanting as well as seed broadcasting, harvesting, crossing, laboratory. So there's a wide range of different things. And I just included this particular quote from a molecular biology student who came on this course and said, "It's easy to lose sight of all the other aspects of rice research. The fieldwork showed that side of rice I rarely think of." And what it used to say was, while thinking about the A's and the T's and the G's and the C's that make up the rice genome. We take you up to the Banawe Rice Terraces, which is about a 10-hour trip from Los Baños, and we stop at the National Rice Research Institute along the way for an overnight, and also to visit the Carabao Center. And the Carabao Center in the Philippines is part of the rice production scene because the carabao is an important animal both for traction as well as for manure and for milk. And that has been a growing concern that is actually really starting to take off in that country. These are the famous rice terraces, and they're just the culmination, if you will, because we go all the way up north. And then we interact with the farming communities here. We divide into groups, and we are interacting with the groups there. You have on-site interviews with rice farmers about their cultivation practices, needs, and problems. We have both small farms, co-ops, large co-ops. There are many, many, many different types of agricultural co-ops in the Philippines. Modern, large-scale farms down country, and then these traditional terrace-based farms up country. And then I just want to say that this course has actually received quite a bit of international attention because we've been able to fund it over a period of time that has started to attract a growing network of people who are now alums from the course. And what's interesting is to track what happens to the students who participated for 3 weeks in this very active and field-based course, yes, I'm finishing, and see what they do after they finish. So there's a network of them, and they're all doing, many of them are doing wonderful and exciting things. So this was published in Science Magazine, and it was really highlighting the value of this course for the people who took it. Thank you.
Martine and Soria, and then after that will be Christina and Margaret, so you can be ready to jump up here.
All right, hello everybody. So I just came from this class, and I think I have a student in the room, so she can back me up on what I'm saying. This course is an experiential learning course that goes to Ecuador over winter break. What I want to emphasize about it is that it involves a partnership between students and community members that begins right away in September. So essentially, it's a 2-course sequence. Each of the courses is 3 credits. The first one is a fall 3-credit course where most of the work, the bulk of the work done for the class is done on projects for a series of community partners in my hometown, which is Intag, Ecuador, I'll talk about that in a second. Essentially you have teams of students, 5-person teams that are partnered with community organizations that have a wide sort of range of interests, but are all fit under this umbrella of sustainable economic alternatives to mining in the area. So essentially 3-credit fall course, you are a project-based fall course and informed by guest lectures from a wide range of disciplines here on campus. The student body is incredibly interdisciplinary. Every year we've taught it, we've had philosophy, design, international ag. We have a wide range of students. And then the 3-credit spring course, you get 2 credits for the field trip, which is also project-based. So essentially you're implementing projects you prepared for in the fall. And then there's a 1-credit reflection course when you come back. The course highlights direct, meaningful work. So it's an opportunity for juniors and seniors especially to take the work and information they've had so far and sort of contextualize it in place. So it's a place-based course that allows students to really learn. It's sort of a learning experience based around actually working with a community affected by something like deforestation, or trying to organize a farmer cooperative, or sell their products through a handicraft market. So it gives students both direct experience in that they're working on projects that are demanding their time and dedication in terms of researching something, but it's also an opportunity for them to see their knowledge in context and understand larger systems. So this is the area. We were in northwest Ecuador, in the northern valley of the Ecuadorian Andes. It runs at about 2,000 meters, a really incredible ecosystem. If you've never been to cloud forest, it's an especially stunning ecosystem with really high biodiversity. The context of these community partners is that they're fighting a sort of fight for survival based around a very large project that's proposed for the area to build an open pit copper mine. So a lot of these issues that are extremely important in Latin America at this moment around extractive industries come into play. The community organizations are small, rural, extremely well-organized groups. They provide ecosystem services, sort of watershed conservation schemes, handicraft groups, ecotourism, and then sustainably grown coffee. Our student teams are selected, they apply for in the spring, they're selected based on their skill sets to match specific projects that we have requested from practitioners by traveling to Ecuador and asking them what they need from our students. We try to promote participatory methods of research and project implementation so that we embody that in our projects, but also teach our students how to interact with these communities in a way that's respectful and mutually reciprocal. Some of the deliverables we've created in the past are interactive GIS maps, sort of experimental agricultural plots, soil health manuals, a website for the women's group cooperative, a product guide for the women's group. There are a number of other ones. We've revamped a small store in the area of Otavalo. And this year they're especially exciting that we're working on a partnership between Gimme Coffee and this small coffee cooperative. So we encourage our students to make these sort of outside connections. If anyone has questions, you can contact me here.
Did you have slides? Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
smart.
I can do it, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just sent them this morning.
okay, well, why don't we go ahead
Well, we
and,
can maybe jump to this.
we have someone who doesn't have slides. Maybe you can put them in while Callie tries to
Sure. Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so. Let's see. Peter Hobbs, you're up.
I don't have slides, but I have a website.
This is the punishment.
I hope that, do you have this up? Or do I have to get it? Okay. So I'm just going to quickly indicate what we have in the IRD major. A couple of things. One that we have is that all of our students in our IRD major are required to do at least a 2 months international experience. And I put this up because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but you can see each one of those dots represents a student that went somewhere overseas and did an international experience. And if you click on those, you can either click on them on the side here, so you see in Argentina we had 3. The red ones are ones that happened before I took over in 2010 from Terry. Terry had some of these other ones, but you can see for Belize, you can see Cambodia, you can see all the countries here. But if we pick any one of these here, say for Brazil, in Brazil we had Rebecca Davao. We have some information in here about, in our own words, what she got from the experience, and then you can read the reflection paper. So when the students come back, we insist that they fill out a web-based survey and also write a reflection paper. And this way we can track students that went. We find that this website is really useful for our students who want to go. They're very useful for parents, and it's also very useful for the international professors that advise our students. So if you're interested in any of these countries or interested in any of this, you can find the information here for these different countries. Also, we have so that's the study experiences, but we also have study abroad programs. And so we also have a website here where we explain the different programs that we have. As a picture here of one of our IRD majors, Henry Wells, working in Chiapas in Mexico. And then we have a list down here of some of those programs. What happened to that? Sorry. Some of those programs that we actually recommend. So for example, on here, for the Kellogg Foundation, and I will explain our 2-week courses fairly soon. We do the 2-week course in Chiapas, Mexico, and then Kellogg Foundation have about 100 to 110 different projects in Chiapas, and the students will stay behind for another 2 months and do an internship in Chiapas, Mexico. Another one here I want to highlight is the Episcopal Relief and Development. This is in Burundi, and Angela was our first student who went, an MPS student that went on this trip. She set up a really good program there, and we have funding for this one for 3 years for 6 students to go and work in Burundi whenever students want to go. So this is the student that we have a student there now at the moment working on kitchen gardens and working with the women and children in the village. Then the last one I want to talk about, I think that KV is going to talk a little bit about the India trip. Right?
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to talk about the Latin America trip. So Martin talked about the Ecuador trip. We also have another one, a combination of 4010, 6010. He has 4011, 6011. This is a trip that has been going since 1968, and I actually took the trip in 1970, so when I was a graduate student. So the information for this is there. It's just like the other one. It's a bit like the Ecuador course in that we have a pre-semester course before they go on the trip, and then we have a reflection half a semester when they come back. We don't have projects that they work on. We mainly travel around to different institutes and visit different communities and look at different ecologies, etc.
We also have exactly the same one for, if we go back, for the actual trip. We have the trip here as well. So this is a trip. We go to the mangrove swamps, Palenque. We have a whole number of different places that we visit. For the India one, I only have 10 seconds left. I won't spend a lot of time, but the Indian one's the same. We meet in the fall, we go to India in the winter break, and then we have a reflection period when we come back in the spring. This one meets in the spring, goes in the summer, and then comes back in the fall. Thank you.
So maybe I'll just say that we'll hear about the SMART program now, and then we're going to hear from Dr. Pleasant and then Dr. Scott. So that'll be our lineup for the next few.
Hello everyone, I'm Margaret Lynch, Program Coordinator at the Cornell International Institute for Food, Agriculture and Development, where the SMART program is housed. SMART is the Student Multidisciplinary Applied Research Teams. We have usually 10 to 15 projects each year. Each of these teams is composed of 3 to 5 students with a faculty leader who comes from anywhere across the campus. Over the summer, we recruit proposals from interested faculty on projects they're interested in completing, as well as proposals from private companies, public sector entities, and NGOs in developing countries, South America, Africa, Asia. In the fall, we begin to recruit the students. This year, we moved that up a little earlier, and the information sessions and applications are available in September. And we've just recently selected our students for this year, unfortunately. But for the students in the room, if you will be here next year, I encourage you to consider this and apply and attend our information sessions next September. The purpose of the projects is that it's really truly service learning. We partner with these organizations in these developing countries in order to provide a service that they need, and also an opportunity for students at Cornell to apply what they learned in the classroom in the real world setting. So you travel 2 weeks over winter break with your client, you return in the spring, take AIM 4421, and usually the outcome is a publishable case study from that course. Just as a quick example, I know you can't read all this, but over the past 4 years only, these are all the degree programs that have been involved in SMART, and you can see now we're getting about 50-50, pretty close in our undergraduate and graduate makeup of the program, so that's a very exciting way for students to come together and share their multidisciplinary goals. Historically, these are the locations that we've had projects. We're really all over the world, and projects are different each year. So you can see we try to spread out, and for the faculty in the room, if you have projects in some of those countries that we haven't touched on yet, we're always excited to find new locations to provide students with new opportunities. So a couple examples from last year's projects, when we had about 12 projects go last year. So one was in the Philippines, working with the Calamansi Association. This has been an ongoing project working with calamansi, the small citrus fruit. We also had a project to Cambodia. This is working with the Eggbonk Mission that works with underprivileged youths who are interested in pursuing careers in hospitality. In China, we had 2 very different projects. One working in a much more business setting with a poly resin producer, which is like little figurines that you would see in a gift shop. Another project was working in Yunnan province with smallholder apple farmers. So you can see that these projects range from the very agriculturally based to the very business and marketing side, but all within the context of working in developing countries and emerging markets and providing opportunities for students, whatever their discipline and degree program, to really dive in and have hands-on experience. We also had a project to Botswana working with a small pig farmer and domestic pork producer. So in this case, it was a small woman-owned business that was just starting off, so the students really got to dive in and see, what's this look like when you're just starting? How do you overcome a lot of these barriers, particularly as a woman entrepreneur? And finally, another project in Colombia that was working with coffee production and the environmental impacts, the small communities that they were working with, and how they're reaching markets. And this project will actually be going for a second time this year. So it'll be exciting to see how they continue with that project. So the important part for the students in the audience for 2015-2016, if you're available during that winter break session, I encourage you to apply for the program. Information sessions will be September 2015. Applications will be available at the same time. The travel will be January 2016. And if you have any questions or would like to just kind of keep up on what's happening with SMART, please, our website is currently under construction, but that will be coming online very soon. And until then, I encourage you to check out our Tumblr that has all the projects that are going this year. And also, we're present on Facebook and Twitter. So I look forward to seeing you all apply next year. Thank you.
Great. My name is Jane Mount Pleasant. I'm a faculty in the horticulture section in the School of Integrative Plant Science. It's a new name. This project actually started out of a SMART trip. We went to China, not me. Actually, we had 2 SMART trips to China in January of 2011 and 2012. And then we developed a internship that takes place in the summer, and this year it will be going to China, May 21st to July 20th. We're working with the Hebei Chimay Agriculture Science and Technology Company. The woman in the front here is Mrs. Zhao, who owns it. We got connected with them because her son is a PhD student in food science here. This is a very large company. They're organic vegetable. They contract with 3,900 farmers on about 1,700 acres. They provide all the things that the farmers need. They have organic certification from USDA, Canada, Japan, the EU, and China. And we've now had a partnership with them for 4 years. Just in case you don't know your Chinese geography, the map on the left is the map of China. You see Beijing in the upper kind of right-hand corner. Hebei province actually surrounds all of Beijing, and Handan, where the company is located, is way down there. It's about 2 hours by high-speed train and 4 to 5 hours by car from Beijing. The objectives of this internship are really pretty simple. It's primarily intended to give Cornell undergraduate students some agricultural field research experience. We actually do field experiments, and you get a chance to figure out how to lay out an experiment, how to take data, how to analyze and interpret it. But you also get a chance to experience organic agriculture in China, which is quite a bit different from agriculture in the United States. And there's a tremendous amount of cross-cultural experience and understanding. China is not like the United States, and China is probably not anything like what you think it is. So it's an incredible, things change all the time. The company is fascinating, and it is a real chance to learn. Chimay is interested because they want help to improve soil health on their farms. This is an agricultural research experience, right? So we try to help them develop practices that will improve soil health. And we're also interested in strengthening the relationship between Cornell and Chimay. Just some of the quick facts here. It's going to take place basically this year between May 21st to July 20th. Maybe a little wiggle room on the start and stop dates, but more or less that time period Chimay, the company provides housing, food, a translator. You do not have to speak Chinese to do this. They also provide all transport within China, plus 2 to 3 days of sightseeing in Beijing. They've been very, very generous with our student interns. They also give each intern a $1,000 stipend, right? So you go home with $1,000. But the interns are responsible to provide air travel. It's expensive. Close to $2,000 plus a visa, which is about under $300, but it's not cheap. I will have applications out in January 2015. We'll let you know in February, and you can contact me at my email. Just a few pictures from summer 2014. There were actually 2 faculty involved the last couple of years, Robin Belinder, who is right here, and myself. We had 2 students, 2 undergraduate students, both IARD, both were IARD majors. One was also an ag science major. My daughter traveled with us, that's not usual. And then the rest of the people, this is an ag staff person from Chimay. This was translator from Chimay. A couple other pictures just to show you what it might look like. We work a lot with corn. They grow a lot of corn. This was a site up in the Highlands, about 2.5 hours from the company's headquarters, and we did one experiment up there, both looking at compost and interseedings. And I guess that was it. I did it fast.
I'll compare my cell phone with yours. I just hit
This is the arrow.
next.
An arrow key, just the arrow keyboard right here.
Oh,
Other way.
there we go. Are you interested in a semester in China? You heard about Beijing? How about Shanghai this time, south of Beijing, and at Xiaotong University? This is a picture of Shanghai Xiaotong University taken this September. You'll see that it's a modern Chinese university, not unlike Cornell at all. And in fact, it is about twice the size of Cornell, a little over 43,000 students. And it has similar colleges of engineering, of science, life, medical science, and let's see, I already forgot the course one. Humanities and social sciences. So, this is slightly different. A full semester in which you would gain credit here at Cornell through transfer with a 4-course sequence at Shanghai Xiaotong. A modular course, 16 weeks. By the way, the semester at Shanghai Xiaotong is 16 weeks. 8 Cornell faculty will present this course in 2-week segments across something like, it'll probably change, advanced topics in modern agriculture and biotechnology, and you'll see some of the subject areas in terms of bioengineering and nanotechnology, biotechnology, renewable energy, bioenergy, horticulture, food science, environment, water and air, landscape architecture, sustainable development, social issues, animal science. 4 hours of credit with both Cornell students and SJTU students in this class. And to make up the full semester, wouldn't this be a great experience to do independent research under a joint advisement of Cornell faculty member and an SJTU member, 4 hours credit presumably, and then take 2 liberal or humanities courses from an array, art, history, culture, language, government, economics, maybe some other possibilities. And you can do it either in Chinese or English, because the opportunity exists if you've got the English capability to take English, or Chinese to do it in Chinese. So that would give you 6 to 8 hours, depending on those courses, giving a full semester abroad at Shanghai Jiao Tong University. This is an experiment that would be conducted over a 3-year period, and several faculty have already done this in 2-week segments at Shanghai Jiao Tong. Josh Rose in the biological sciences, Dan Lowe in biological environmental engineering, and myself. This, if you missed the clock tower, you can see that we have a clock tower here at Shanghai Jiao Tong. There are not lakes, but there are quite a number of canals. The water may not be quite as pristine, I have to say, but there are a number of canals running around, and this is a good place for lunch. I could have picked a scene from the website which would have been a little better than this, but it wouldn't have a Cornell faculty member standing in front of Pudan across the Wanpu River at night, and of course the famous Pearl Tower in the evening. So, contacts. Christine Potter, study abroad and exchange advisor for CALS. She's the contact for details on credit for transfer. It would be an SJTU transcript. Tuition, costs, housing, financial aid, eligibility, travel, and all of those things. And myself for information and experience on the academic programs at SJTU and the campus there. And also, I've been to China 39 times, so I have seen quite a bit of China and can give you comments about that as well. And we're ending at the same time. So, I put a few cards back there, and I welcome the opportunity to talk with any of you at any time for a very interesting possibility.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and move away from the courses with an international dimension and learn about some externally sponsored projects that are happening in various parts of the world. And KV Raman is going to kick us off.
Well, I don't have a PowerPoint, but there is a handout there which Denise has. If anyone is interested, you can take it. I just want to make a few remarks on internships first. I think all what you heard in the morning was formal internships. What I'm going to be talking is about informal internships or linkages which IP has set up. So the countries where we are involved and where we have the links is in Uganda. We have the University of Makerere and the National Agriculture Research Organization, where we have a kind of Cornell's country coordinator who's based there. So through him, we can facilitate any internships whoever are interested in Kenya. We have the East African Seed Corporation, which is interested in hosting students. The University of Egerton, with whom we have been in contact with the dean. In Malawi, we have a project which I think you can pick up. It's funded by USAID. And the International Potato Center has also contacted us to support some interns there in Malawi. In South Africa, we've been in contact with the African Leadership Academy, which I have visited, and I have visited twice. They are willing to host interns from anywhere at Cornell. In Nigeria, we have been in contact with the Director General of IITA, and he's interested in hosting students there if there is interest. In Bangladesh, we have the Bangladesh Agriculture Research Institute, and we have a country coordinator, Cornell's coordinator, who's based there, and he's willing to help out with NGOs, with universities, and the national institutions. In India, we have our own regional coordinator who's based there, and along with him, and we also have the Tata Cornell Initiative. There are a number of scholarships which are available for India. The Indo-US Science and Technology Forum, in fact, is supporting one student today, and they have expressed interest to support more students. We also have the Cornell Sadhguru Foundation there, which can also be tapped in for some more scholarships there. In Philippines, UPLB, we have a country coordinator based there through USAID, and she is willing to help out. In Indonesia, we have another country coordinator who's on Cornell salary, who's based there, and he's also willing to help out. In Thailand, we have a very important Cornell alumni who's actually visiting here and starting a plant breeding academy there. And one of our professors from plant breeding is going to be based there. And there's a likelihood of one more Cornell faculty joining them, so that's also another possibility. In Mexico, we have the Pictipapa program, which is still ongoing through SEAM, and the country coordinator there is with us, and he's willing to host students through the University of Chapingo. In Peru, of course, one or two students have actually gone there and come back. It's again through an informal linkage which we have set up with the university there and also with the International Potato Center. In Rome, I think this is one of the most important ones, and I think we have a website. EFI is the International Fund for Agriculture Development, and they're probably in almost any developing country you can think of. And they fund, the World Bank, the CGs, and the president of EFI is Kanayo Nawanze, and we know him well. We have worked together, Ronnie and me. So I think he's very keen, and in fact, we're trying to see if we can bring him here and talk to the students. In terms of projects, we have the following USAID projects, which I think students can link to. One is the Agricultural Biotechnology Support Project in India, as well as in Malawi. As I mentioned, in Malawi and in India, there are lots of opportunities for you folks to link up with us. Then we have another project, which is the Obama Singh Knowledge Initiative, and this is run, when Obama went to India, he signed an agreement with the Prime Minister there, and we were lucky to get some funding through this initiative. This is still ongoing, but this initiative actually is now linking up with what we call the Indian Council for Agricultural Research. 20 seconds more. So, and then I guess I have this IARD course, which you can look up. And then we have a number of executive development programs. Pick up a handout in the back.
Good evening. So I'd like to make 3 general points here. First, I serve as the scientific director for an international grant-making program called the McKnight Foundation Collaborative Crop Research Program. We're co-funded by the McKnight Foundation based in Minnesota and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We've got about $50 million for each 5-year period for the program. So there are quite a few potential opportunities there. I'll only mention a couple. The others would have to be kind of investigated on a case-by-case basis. I have some interest in my lab, which is a corn genetics lab that take me to Eastern and Southern Africa as well. And in general, I want to make the point that if you're an undergrad looking for research opportunities, you can also shop, in addition to programs like these, shop all the graduate students who work internationally, because they might be able to team up with undergrads and provide a degree of mentorship and sort of buddy system that I think would make for a very good experience. So I think there are a lot of opportunities around, and I'll mainly be keeping it kind of general here. So the McKnight program operates in 4 regions, one in the high Andes of Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador, and then 3 African regions, West Africa, Mali, Niger, Burkina. East and Southern Africa for us is Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda, and Southern Africa for us is Mali, Tanzania, and Mozambique. So I would urge you to go ahead and have a look at our website, csrp.org. And you could, depending on your interest, take a look at the fund around 60 projects. You can see the sorts of issues that we're investigating, and I could put you in touch with people if any of those interest you. We also have a project called the Agricultural Intensification Exchange, where we hire some grads and undergrads to build content on this topic. But just a couple of my own interests that overlap with my program interests. One is just how gadgetry can help in farmer-based research, and the second one has to do with management of mycotoxins. So, I wanted to mention a couple of specific opportunities. One is, there's one of our grantees is working at INSIPE, the International Institute for Insect Physiology and Ecology in Kenya, based in Kenya, and they're looking at how this intercropping system does or does not reduce toxic metabolites on maize, and so they would be happy to receive an intern to work with a grad student on that topic. That's also the topic that I happen to work on, so my own work might offer internship opportunities for students. Second opportunity was that in Ethiopia, Beth Medvecki, who is also part of the program, is organizing a topic on landrace diversity, and she's bringing some Cornell graduates with Ethiopian graduates to do a study of landrace diversity in Ethiopia. I'm loaded with time. I got that wrong, sorry. So if you're interested in working in Ethiopia, so Beth is organizing a team of grads and undergrads to study this landrace diversity theme, and I think she'd be interested in welcoming undergraduates as well to this topic. So probably I didn't make any sense on it. What is my time is going, oh, it's going up, not down. I get it. To the second opportunity. Okay, so we got landrace diversity in Ethiopia. Okay, well. Okay, so in the push-pull system, the idea is that there's a stress, a biotic stress complex that affects maize really horribly in eastern southern Africa, where you have stem borers and striga and all sorts of biotic stresses that come together to really reduce maize production. And these people at the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology, International Center for Insect Ecology and Physiology, they found that if you intercrop with Desmodium, a leguminous former weed, and then surround your fields with another fodder crop, you can really manage the pest complex there. So a couple of years ago, the head of that organization, or one of their key scientists there, Ziad Khan, who's linked with Cornell somehow, brought it in my office saying, let's see if it reduces mycotoxins. And I was like, sure, but it's not till now that we have a grant in place and a graduate student in place who would be happy to team up with Cornell undergrads. So if you're interested in that topic, that'd be cool. Oh, yeah, any questions? Anyway, we do, okay, backing up to, wow, sorry. Gadgets, that's cool. Like in my lab, we're working on how you can, small handheld devices can now help farmers make measurements that might allow us to better understand various problems. Mycotoxins, microbes in general, toxic compounds they produce, better understand things that they're really important to farmers, but that they can't see: soil carbon, nutrients, soil microbial activity. So anyway, if gadgetry is interesting to you, we could probably work something out. So 9 seconds left. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Jean-Luc Yannick, and I'm the science director, I guess, for this thing called Next Gen Cassava, which is funded also by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to the tune of about $25 million over 5 years. Cassava, I mean, I guess the numbers vary quite a bit, but give or take, a few 100,000 people rely on cassava in sub-Saharan Africa for a lot of their calories. And so Next Gen Cassava is just an attempt to bring a number of new technologies to bear on increasing the rate at which we manage to improve cassava. So it's a hodgepodge of quite technical things and some less technical things. And so one of them is, applying DNA sequencing to cassava improvement. Just go through, so, cassava is bred for the roots. It's a starchy root that people eat primarily. But if you're constantly breeding for the root, the plant starts to flower less, which makes it very difficult to make crosses and do breeding. So we have a component looking at flowering physiology to make it easier to make crosses. We have a component that's strictly like computer science, developing a database for all of this data coming from DNA sequencing and all of the phenotyping. Cassava was actually domesticated in South America and then brought by the Portuguese to Africa. So to some extent, we don't know fully to what extent, but the diversity of African cassava is less than total global diversity of cassava. So we want to increase that diversity, and there's a component or two of the project that has to do with that. And then finally, Holly Tufan, who's not here, but who is the program manager for this whole thing, is very interested in looking at gender disaggregated goals of selection. So women often grow the crop and process it in the kitchen. Men are sometimes selling it in the marketplace. They value different things in the crop. Breeders haven't necessarily looked at how those things differ. But, so now we want to do that. And then the last component, which I forgot to put a little text box in for, is that there's a fair amount of education. I mean, there's 5 graduate students here at Cornell working on this project. There are 3 PhD students in Africa at the West African Center for Crop Improvement. There are 8 master's students at Makerere University in Uganda. So a lot of capacity building. And so this is all sort of, in terms of pitching it to you as a project that you might want to work with, it's all informal. We don't have, like formal internship possibilities, but we have a great network of people. We're in our 3rd year now of the project. This is Ismail Rabi in white there, who's the main cassava breeder at IATA in Nigeria, and his right-hand man, Smith. So we have really good teams and I think good connections. So if you're interested in any of these things, and you think that you might want to connect with a rather large research enterprise addressing them, come talk to me and I can connect you with people. So, in 3 minutes flat.
Okay, I'll take your time here. I'll tell you about 2 projects in my 5 minutes. So the first project I want to tell you about is called the Durable Rust Resistance in Wheat Project, and this is a large global initiative. It's a $60 million project over 8 years. We're in the 2nd phase of that, and we are hopeful to be invited to apply to continue the work in the 3rd phase. And it really spans a number of disciplines, all geared toward mitigating the threat of wheat stem rust. Stem rust is one of the most devastating diseases of wheat, and a new race emerged in East Africa in 1999, let's say. It was named in 1999, emerged in 1998. And most of the world's wheat was susceptible to this new race, and so it really posed quite an alarming threat. To respond to this threat, we have a number of different objectives, and I'm just going to briefly talk about them. One is to understand the pathogen. So we need to understand the way the pathogen is moving in space. So it was first identified in Uganda, but it's moved as far north as Iran and as far south as South Africa. And one of the major breadbaskets, India, is not far away from Iran, so could have a little devastating effect if it moves to India. It's also moving evolutionarily. So originally UG99 was one race type, and now it's mutated several times, and it's now a family of 8 races. So it's moving in space and also evolving and overcoming more and more sources of resistance. We also want to increase our understanding of this very complicated pathogen at the molecular level, so we have partners doing that. Wheat stem rust has a very complicated life cycle, and it has an alternate host, Barbary, where it completes the sexual cycle of its life cycle, the second stage of its life cycle, and so we have a team trying to determine the role that the alternate host might be playing in the evolution of these new races. There's a large gene discovery component to this, and Mark Sorrell's group here at Cornell is involved in this objective. He's also involved in the marker development, so we need to understand the molecular markers that basically are flags for new sources of resistance. We're looking at wild relatives of wheat to find new sources of resistance. There's no transgenic approaches in this project. It's all looking at near and wild relatives of wheat for sources of resistance. There was a part of the project early on looking at non-host resistance. I'm not going to spend time on that because it's not part of the project at this point. The core of the project is breeding. At the end of the day, we want new varieties out there that are resistant to this new race. One of the greatest challenges is seed multiplication and delivery. We need to make sure that once we have new varieties, these countries that we work with are well positioned to have seed accessible to their farmers. Capacity building is a big part of the project, both in terms of human capacity building as well as infrastructure. There's 2 large international screening nurseries that have been built in Ethiopia and Kenya, where the world's breeders are going to screen their materials to assess whether they are resistant to this new race family. Gender is an initiative in this project similar to what Jean-Luc was saying. We want to ensure that the varieties that are being developed by the breeders in this project are going to meet the needs of both men and women farmers. So that's the project in a nutshell. As I said, it's a global project. We have partners, I think close to 25 partners directly involved in the project activities. But what we've managed to do with this project is really build a global network that is much bigger than this particular project. And so we have partners, working towards some of the same goals, but on different projects, all part of the World Global West Initiative. And then briefly, I want to tell you about a new project just launched about a month ago called the Cornell Alliance for Science. And this is a Gates-funded project as well. And what we're trying to do here is really sort of reframe the conversation around biotechnology and support of evidence-based decision-making. And the messages that we would like to put forward are very pro-science, pro-access, pro-public sector, pro-poor, and pro-choice. The first objective in this project is to build a network of communicators that all sort of share those messaging goals. And then there's a second component, which is a training component, and there we want to populate this network with new communications champions. So if you're interested in science communication, please talk to me about the Alliance for Science.
Hello everyone. My name is Annie, and I'm the Peace Corps representative here at Cornell. Before I begin, I want to ask, does anyone know anyone who's done Peace Corps before? Are there any faculty who are returned Peace Corps volunteers? One? One here? Congratulations. Two? Okay, yeah.
I've got a daughter.
Okay, daughters and family members. So this is an interesting thing. A lot of people know about Peace Corps. But one of the things that you might not know is that there are graduate benefits for people to combine graduate school and Peace Corps service through the Masters International program. And there's also an opportunity to go to receive benefits in grad school after Peace Corps service. So in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Cornell has this option for combined Peace Corps service and graduate study. What happens is students apply for an MPS at Cornell in a variety of fields, all related to agriculture. And they spend 1 year at Cornell studying, and then they have a full volunteer service in the field. So what this does, it combines the knowledge that you learn in the classroom at Cornell with the field experience of working in Peace Corps. So this has two components. So it's both what students have to do is first apply to Cornell, become registered, start school, and in their first year of graduate study, they would apply to the Peace Corps. So the students who do this program have to be both great students and competitive applicants to the Peace Corps. So the types of students Peace Corps is looking for have these characteristics. The big application deadline for starting Peace Corps after graduate study would be October 15th. So if you apply by October 15th, those programs will leave starting the following summer, June, July, August. And you'd be working throughout your service on completing your master's thesis. So 1 year of school, 27 months of service, and you can leave with, considering the successful completion of your thesis, you finish with a master's degree. So the application process has recently changed so that applicants can more closely align their graduate experience with their Peace Corps experience. So previously, Peace Corps applicants applied to the general Peace Corps pool, and now they can apply to specific jobs. So you can go online to Peace Corps' database and look specifically at what jobs are opening, leaving June, July, August, after that first year of school. And related to these degrees, we have program areas in environment, agriculture, small business development, youth development, education, all of which could have agriculture components. And applicants can search the database to look specifically for what the job description is for each of those program areas. There are also qualifications so that volunteers know if they're competitive for those spots or not. So the application now is the best time to do this program because you can align more closely your graduate experience with your Peace Corps experience. Altogether, the application process takes about 9 months. The part you have the most control over is when you apply. So that October 15th deadline is the most important. And the rest of it kind of looks like this, which would be ongoing along with your graduate study. Peace Corps does keep in mind that you are applying specifically for a job that relates to your master's program, and because you're a Cornell master's student, that automatically gives you some characteristics that make you more competitive for Peace Corps service, all of which is taken into account when you're applying for those specific jobs. And you can apply for up to 3 jobs within Peace Corps in one application round. Any questions? I have an office in B75 next to CFAD, and the basement here in Mann Library. This is my contact information. I also have business cards in the back with more information about both Masters International, which I described in this presentation, as well as more information about the Coverdell program, which again is the Peace Corps, the graduate experience after your Peace Corps service. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Anderson. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about transnational learning. Transnational learning is a program that leverages experiences and resources from Cornell and partner institutions and tries to bring those to the developing world with the aim of increasing food security. Transnational learning sort of works at the sort of sweet spot between information technology, education and research, and agricultural development. Sort of trying to look at sort of where those things come together, and we try and deliver content and services in that sort of intersection there. To give you an idea of sort of 3 different kinds of programs that we're working with, we work with universities, so we're working with, you've heard about the West African Center for Crop Improvement. We also work with the African Center for Crop Improvement in South Africa. We work with peer organizations, helping them to establish streaming media production platforms. So a lot of the content that we sort of ship over to Africa is done through e-learning and through Polycom video conferences. And we provide a conduit to Mann Library to provide mechanisms for utilizing Mann's extensive resources to partner organizations. We have worked in or are working in over 11 African countries: Thailand, the Philippines, India, and Mexico. This is an example of one of the sort of e-learning sort of talking heads and PowerPoint slides that you can utilize. We have over 1,000 modules now in our database. I'll tell you a quick sort of example of one of our projects. One is where we've worked with a number of institutions in India to establish e-learning centers to help support their programs in agriculture. And we've taught them how to do e-learning. We've developed platforms for e-learning, and we've helped them to learn how to create e-learning content. Our sort of AIP project also sort of does something like platform and establishes a center where they can do assignments, reading, chat with professors, quizzes, all that sort of other sort of information. Now, what might be interesting to you is that we have a couple of work-study opportunities for students. So if anybody's particularly technically oriented and would like to work in this particular area, transnational learning might be for you. Thank you very much.
So I'm Jim. So I'm going to do a little magic. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm going to bounce up here. So what I'm going to talk about is, for those of you who don't know me, I work actually, I'm on the library here at Man. And what I wanted to tell you about was the support you get should you leave Man, and should you leave Cornell. Let me see this works. Okay, yes. So, and, okay. So, this is a, no, I've done it. I tempted the technological fates. Let's do this, come on. I knew it. I've done this 100 times teaching here, and I've never had a problem. So, hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go. Okay, so when this decides it wants to do it, it's going to come up. No, I should have just left it alone. Anyway, all right, so anyway, I'm going to skip that. So what I wanted, there was this great picture of me eating a coconut in the farmer's market in Coimbatore, India. And that was just, that's all I was doing. I was going to show you this picture and I was going to leave. And that was gonna be it. But what I wanted to say was that was a picture, damn, that really sucks. There was the idea was I have gone, traveled with IARD 6020, thank you. And so literally there are Man librarians who travel with some of the IP programs, not all of them. So then the question becomes, well, I'm going to Ecuador, I'm going to China, Jim, are you going to come with me? And the answer is yes. Not literally, I won't be traveling with you, but everything you can do here on campus in terms of access to research, access to databases, journals, interlibrary loan, all that stuff, you can do that. You can get full access electronically wherever you are. All you need is your net ID and your password, and you can get access. And people sometimes forget that you're doing field research in Mozambique, and if you can get access to the internet there, you can get access to everything electronically you can get access to here, including support. So, I mean, I am officially the liaison librarian to international programs. It doesn't mean I'm the only one you can work with, but if you forget everything else, you can remember me and JPK15, and you can send me an email and I will give you support. The other thing I was going to mention, which would have been great to show you, is there's this thing called, the other thing is if you're going to leave home, don't forget Passkey, which, how many of you have ever used Passkey? Okay, so most of you haven't, so this is going to be really cool. There is a little free plugin that if you just go and Google Cornell Passkey, what it will allow you to do is when you are not on the Cornell network, and you are just surfing along and you come upon an article from a journal, say the International Journal of Crop Science, which I just made up. But if you get access to it, normally, if you're not on the Cornell network, they're going to ask you to pay for it. But if Cornell has a subscription to it, and most of those journals we do, I just had this flash like Rebecca. It's like, wait, I don't know. It's growing up. You can get access to all that information instantaneously. Again, all you need is that net ID and password, and it will get you in there, and you don't have to go through the right channels. So that's something actually to keep in mind, even if you don't leave the country, if you just leave campus. The other thing I was going to mention, which has nothing to do with international, but it's a really cool domestic benefit that you may not be aware of. Cornell participates in something called Borrow Direct, which is a consortium of Ivy League libraries that's now expanded to Duke University, MIT, and the University of Chicago. So if any of you have done interlibrary loan requests through there, they're great, they're really fast, and you have access to essentially the world's largest library. You now actually, as Cornell students, staff members, have full borrowing privileges at those university libraries. So if you are in Chicago or if you are in Cambridge, you can get a borrower's card and use the materials at those libraries. So that's all I have to say. JPK15, and we're gonna have to get
Don't go anywhere yet.
I know, it's like.
So while Kelly and Jim fix this up, I just want to, out of curiosity, how many folks here are undergraduates? And how many are graduate students? Okay, great, thanks. So we have a few more programs and initiatives that we wanted to plug who aren't able to be here tonight. So hopefully we can get back to our slideshow. But it might take a while, so I'll just tell you a little bit about them while it's coming up. So One thing that I wanted to flag is that we do have a Director of Communications and International Programs, CALS, Linda McCandless, and she was hopeful to be here tonight, but she is not feeling well, and so she's home sick. But she did provide this slide, or Callie provided it with her input. So she is a very experienced science writer. She's worked for the college. She's worked for our office, and she's doing a lot of exciting writing on projects around the world. And so if you have an interest in developing as a science writer with a focus on agriculture, she is a great mentor, and is actually hiring a student. So her cards are on the back table with the other resources. If you're interested, you can contact her, and she can tell you more about what her shop does. We also wanted to tell you briefly about the SRI program, SRI Rice program. The SRI team is all in Bangkok at getting ready for the big international rice meeting, so they aren't able to be here. But this is a program that also lives in international programs CALS, and their description here, I'll just read this slide. The system of rice intensification is a climate-smart agroecological method to increase the productivity of irrigated rice, and more recently other crops beyond rice, by changing the management of plants, soil, water, and nutrients. And the team that runs the SRI program has really been quite good at working with students. They work with the Peace Corps quite a bit. They're always making new connections. So if you're interested in rice or management of rice or other crops, please get in touch with Erica or Lucy or Devin, all on the SRI team. I believe, did they provide some materials back there?
No, but
SRI, not EBU. Okay, and then I wanted to highlight the fact that CALS has an exchange program for formal semester exchanges, and I think most of you know that, but if not, Christine Potter is your contact there. There's a lot of exciting programs around the world, and many of them, Terry and Peter can speak to this, but many of them, or all of them, do satisfy that 2-month international experience requirement for the undergraduate program. So you can learn more about these programs on the website and also by getting in touch with Christine. And then finally, I wanted to plug 2 opportunities for travel credits. So we have the CALS Aware Graduate Student Research Travel Grant and the Frosty Hill Fellowship. I'll start with the first one. The Aware Graduate Student Travel Grant supports student research that has a gender dimension to it, so a gender and ag dimension. And this is part of our Aware program, Advancing Women in Agriculture through Research and Education. There'll be an announcement before the winter break about these applications, but if you receive the announcement about this program tonight, you'll probably receive this announcement. Otherwise, you can check the website. But I believe Callie's printed out some flyers that are on the back table. We also have the Frosty Hill Fellowship, which supports graduate students and faculty, actually, to spend some time in a CGIAR center doing their research. And so this is another opportunity that will be announced. These will be announced together before the winter break. Then you can use part of your winter break to get your project application together, and then the application deadline will take February. So with that, that concludes our sort of speed dating session on the programs. And I'd like now to invite our Senior Associate Dean, Max Pfeffer, to come forward and offer some comments. Professor Pfeffer wears many hats in the college, but perhaps most relevant to this group here is that he represents all of us on the Internationalization Committee down campus.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Sarah.
Max.
You notice she said Professor Pfeffer. Everybody always stumbles over it. I even stumble over it. It's hard. You know, I think this is just wonderful. I'm glad I had the chance to come over this afternoon and to hear about some of the stuff that's going on. First of all, I think we all should thank the IPCALS staff for putting this all together. And before I forget, I want to thank all the people that professors and other staff that organize these programs for students, it's a lot of effort. Often it's above and beyond all the other things that the professors do, which is a lot. And so it's part of the dedication that I think our faculty have to international experiences here. It's interesting to see because it's such a part of the culture of this college, College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. But you know, this whole thing of internationalization of the curriculum is a big university initiative. Everyone wants students to have as many international experiences, or as many students as possible to have international experiences as possible. Another thing that's important right now that's happening at the university is a lot of discussion about engaged learning. And so that we learn more by doing is kind of the idea. And now, as you've probably seen in the papers, there's this whole new initiative to encourage that more. What's beautiful about all of this that we're hearing about, this all is before all of that. This has been going on for a long time in this college, and it continues to go on. And it's just a wonderful thing. Sarah mentioned the variety of opportunities. We have 15 or more courses that provide an international experience as part of those courses, which is just incredible to me, just in this college, and then there's others around the university. The other couple of things that I think are really important are the exchange possibilities, and especially for undergraduates. If you are interested in doing some studying abroad, you heard from various professors, and then you heard about that just now from Sarah. Those are really wonderful opportunities. And then for graduate and undergraduate students, internships that are available. And I just can't believe, how many we have, KB. I mean, it's just when you start going down the list, I have to look. I think sometimes I'm informed about some of this stuff, and then sometimes I learn stuff, and I'm just like, wow, I didn't even know we had all of that. So it's really wonderful, and I think what we really have here is a college with its faculty that has just a wealth of experiences. They have a wealth of insights, and they provide a wealth of opportunities for all the students. And so I think this is really wonderful, and all you students that are here, I'm really glad you're here this afternoon. I encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities that you have. So thank you all very much.